Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Brandon Dewan, the president and CEO of Eagle Pipe, a full-service stocking distributor of oil field tubulars. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Hi, Malcolm. Thank you for having me, and nice to be with you today.
Brandon, you grew your company's revenue from $60 million in 2014 to $139.8 million in 2017, a 132% increase. And in 2018, you hit around 300 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Absolutely. What Eagle Pipe does is we stock and distribute oil field tubulars, predominantly oil country tubular goods, which is production casing that goes downhole for producing oil and gas wells, line pipe, which is for transmission and gathering. It's to take the product from the well site to market, as well as poly pipe, which is a HDPE or resin-based type of material that is used a lot in the midstream segment for water transmission predominantly. And
yep, go ahead.
No, so basically what we do is we work with both midstream and upstream clientele, so midstream companies and E&P companies, to establish pipe supply programs with them. We buy from our mill sources, both domestically and internationally. We're predominantly a domestic supply company focused on our domestic mill sources. However, we also utilize import mill sources as well where it makes sense. And we buy from them. We stock material on behalf of our end user customers who we work with on forecasts to understand what their drilling needs are going to be, and then what their midstream needs are going to be. And we develop these pipe supply programs with them to where we supply their ongoing needs.
And how do you differ from the other distributors of tubulars out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a couple of differentiating factors that we have. One of which is when we were starting the company, we were really focused on trying to bring a highly analytical nature to our business. And what we've done is we actually have some market analysts and business analysts on staff here, which are constantly analyzing the markets as well as our customers' business. And we're supplying them with valuable information as well as we're utilizing those market dynamics, the market metrics, we implement into our supply programs to ultimately reduce costs, increase efficiency. We can also show them things in terms of how they're performing versus their peers in certain regions and identify ways for them to improve their performance. And again, it's about decreasing costs. We can help them with string design optimization, etc.
So some of these services you just mentioned are ones that normally the end consumer, end buyer would have to do themselves.
Exactly. So we're doing that for them now. We're also taking it all the way down the supply chain to where we're controlling the raw materials themselves. So the only way to truly control your cost is to control the actual raw material. So that's what we've done. We've got strategies in place that control scrap for seamless type of pipe, and we also control HRC, which is the raw material component going into making ERW product, which makes up about 50% of our market, and then seamless makes up about the other 50 on the upstream side. And then on the midstream side, ERW makes up about 87%, with seamless being the balance. So instead of just buying from the mills at a current day market price and a fluctuating cyclical market price, we're controlling that cost. And it's about buying at advantageous cycles within the markets, which is the point of our business analysts and market analysts on staff. Is they're always following these different dynamics, different metrics, and understanding when the proper times to buy material are. And then we can work with our mill sources to utilize our raw materials in a beneficial way that allow us to have a better than market type of cost.
Now, you mentioned the acronym ERW. What does that stand for?
Electric resistance welded. It's basically you take a flat sheet of pipe, and the mill will roll it up and weld it down the middle, and that makes a tubular product out of a hot roll coil is the raw material.
Right. Okay. Got it. Now, you grew your business pretty fast over the past 4 years, right? From 60 million in 2014 to 300 million in 2018. What were the three biggest drivers of your sales growth during that period?
Yeah, so we were doing a couple things that allowed us to kind of catapult there, and one of which was during the downturn, went from 14 to 15, and 15 and 16 were one of the biggest depressions that the oil field has ever experienced. So what we realized is that the rig count was going to fall off dramatically, and we needed to diversify, one, to survive and be profitable during the downturn, and two, to really set ourselves up to rebound once the market came back. And what we realized in that is that the midstream held a lot of potential. We diversified from 100% upstream company into the midstream and started to put strategies in place that would allow us to do things a little bit different than what the competition in the midstream had done up to that point. And that allowed us to really take some market share. And we leveraged our upstream clientele to start supplying their midstream pipe as well. So what my focus was to create a one-stop shop that our customers could come to, where there's not many companies in our industry that are doing both market segments, upstream and midstream. So I thought that we could provide a one-stop shop that would allow us to supply the pipe they use for producing their oil and gas wells, which is the OCTG, and then the line pipe for the midstream, as well as polypipe to complement the midstream, and valves and fittings and associated products, to where they could leverage their buy with us. And from an efficiency standpoint as well, their teams would have one company to deal with versus 2, 3, 4. And so that ended up proving up very well. And that also helped us from our mill basis, because our suppliers, mills that manufacture both types of product, OCTG and line pipe, that allowed them now for us to leverage our buys with them, because it's all about placing tons on the mill. And that allowed us to really impact the amount of material they could produce. And that was beneficial for everybody. It was a win-win.
Okay. A couple of questions to clarify. And for the people who aren't energy and petrochemical analysts out there, can you, in layman's term, define upstream and midstream?
Sure. So in general, if you think upstream, that's going to be your ExxonMobil, your Chevron that's drilling wells in the Permian or drilling wells in the Eagle Ford, or that's what the upstream is the exploration and production companies who are drilling for the product. And then the midstream is taking it to market. So once you've drilled it and you produced it, that's the upstream. Then you go into the midstream, which is taking it from that wellhead to market.
Okay, got it. And for the biggest drivers so that you mentioned so far, one is that you diversified into the midstream during the downturn 2014 to 2015, because you saw an opportunity there that you can provide more value. And then did you mention a second driver in that discussion, or?
Sure. Yeah. So we touched on one. So the second one there is the age group of our company. And what I mean by that is that our entire management team is mid to upper 30s, and the average age of our company is about 30 years old. So what that allows us to do is really connect with the younger generation that's now being promoted into C-level drilling manager, midstream manager. And we think about the business differently, and we do things differently. So right now with our end users, with our customer base, it's all about analytics, digital oil field, artificial intelligence, efficiency, etc. So that's what we've really focused on as a company to bring to the market. And the people that we're dealing with are our age now, the decision makers. So we're able to connect with them much better than some of the older generation, for example. Not that there's anything negative about that. It's just a new age of doing business. And our management group and our company in general is at the pinnacle of being able to operate in modern day business with the decision makers of modern day business. So that's something that's really allowed us in a competitive advantage over some of our competition that was started in the 70s and 80s, which many of the people are much older now, and their way of doing business is much older. So we kind of view ourselves as a speedboat in the market versus these big barges that take a long time to switch and change the way they're doing things, their decision-making process, et cetera.
Right. And do you have a third driver of your growth?
Yeah, absolutely. So the third driver overall is the vision and implementation that we have. So really, everyone's held accountable And we set a very clear vision with the company. We communicate that internally, and we're very transparent with our employees of what we're trying to accomplish, how we're trying to accomplish it, and where we stand. We have weekly meetings that address what our goals are as a company. And there's a heavy focus, obviously, as we're a sales organization, on our customer service. But to me, you have to have a plan in place. You have to have a roadmap, or you go nowhere. And that's what I think we've done very efficiently, is gotten everybody on board to pull as a team in the same direction to accomplish the same things. And through that I think is really a competitive advantage, because everybody here is really on the same page and accomplishing what we set out to accomplish and exactly how we're going to accomplish it. Whereas I've seen and worked at other places and organizations that the direction is not really there. It's people are there, they have a job, but the passion's not there. The desire to grow, the desire to take care of your customer, to go the extra mile is not there. And that's something that we've implemented at Eagle Pipe, and something that's really helped us stand apart.
Now, when we began our conversation, you talked about how you have a team of business analysts, right, to analyze the market, work with the customers, help the forecast. When you shared that with me, I was thinking, yeah, okay, this has got to be one of your key drivers of your success. But you didn't really mention it as a standalone driver.
Well, that goes into the point one about the highly analytical nature. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's something that is really, if I was going to say what our number one differentiator is our focus on the high analytics. And those market analysts, the business analysts that we have on staff, they are very focused on what's occurring in the markets, where the markets are going. These days, one of the really the driving factors, because we understand supply, demand, raw material costs, et cetera. But one of the major things now to understand is geopolitics. The geopolitics side is really swaying markets these days, which is hard to predict. So that's the challenge that they have to understand, is what's happening in the U.S. and certain parts of the world that's going to drive the geopolitics. And if we can get ahead of that and try to get as good of understanding as possible, we can help put that missing piece of the pie together to figure out where the market's going.
Right.
And so that's the importance that's one of the importance of the business analysts that we have. But the other side is to be able to give our customers a full analysis of their business on an ongoing basis and identify areas for them to reduce cost, increase efficiency, really help outperform their peer group through the analytics that we're able to apply to their business. And there's not a lot of that's been done in the past, and that's something that I'm very happy about that we've been able to do at Eagle, is bring that to the forefront.
Right. Now, do you still have 14 employees working for you now?
No, we don't now. We're up to almost 30 now.
Okay, so you almost doubled your company over the past year.
Correct.
Okay. Now, your revenue per employee is huge, right? It's about 10 million roughly per employee. Is that normal in your business, or are you exceptionally high?
Ours is pretty good. I mean, I think that there's definitely some others out there that are close to that, but overall, I think that we have a very high performing company, and you know, the numbers speak to that, to where anytime you have that kind of revenue per employee, you're doing something right from an efficiency standpoint, a productivity standpoint, and I believe that we fit that category. Right.
Now, do you actually own the inventory that you're holding for your customers?
Yes, we own the inventory. We stock it in our inventory that we pay for, and we have stocking locations around the country. We have about 20 main stocking locations around the country, and they're predominantly located in the major shale play areas. So we stock their requirements, their pipe out there. So we'll work with them on a forecast, and typically our goal is to try to have about 2 to 3 months supply of inventory for them. And we turn that inventory. Our goal for inventory turns is 6 times. So last year we got 5.8, so just below 6. And that's kind of our goal, though. I think as an industry norm, companies shoot for 4, which is turning your inventory once every quarter. And ours is 6. We try to get as close to 6 as possible, and that means that we have to manage our inventory very good.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the way your business works, are you able to get working capital funding loans to cover the cost of carrying the inventory, or in your industry, Do you have
Yes,
to own
yes,
it yourself?
good question. So when we started out with no line of credit, and we had after about 6 months. So what we did is we started no line of credit. We had an initial investment by me and my partner, small investment, and then essentially we were vendor finance, which means we were working with our kind of our two key vendors, and we were paying them once we got paid from our customers. We were very transparent with them to explain to them who our customer base was. And as long as they were comfortable with the credit risk of who the customer was, then we were able to do business with them through that channel. And so we just had an understanding that don't go around us or we'll never do business with you again. And that was respected. And so Bank of Texas, which is where we opened an account, our focus there was we didn't want to go to a JP Morgan or a Bank of America or something because we knew we would not be important to start out. So we went with a more regionalized bank that would also allow us to grow. And so we went with Bank of Texas. And so after 6 months, they came and said, look, you guys have outperformed 99% of the startup companies we've ever banked. So we want to establish a line of credit with you. So we established a $350,000 line of credit with them, which quickly grew from there. And long story short, we've grown that credit line very efficiently over the years. We've switched banks a couple times, and now we have a $100 million credit line with US Bank.
Nice. Now, is financing one of the key drivers of your business as well?
Absolutely. That's the number one key driver right there, because we're in a very capital intensive business. And so you have to have a strong line of credit and access to capital to be able to fund the business properly. And that's something that's been an immense amount of work, is not just getting access to capital, but keeping the growth of the capital up with the growth of our business. And that's taken a lot of my time. And me and my partner's time is really focusing on growing our capital structure as a company and keeping up with the growth. And we've been very effective in doing that, but it definitely did not come easy. Right.
Now, you're in a very cyclical industry. So how are you handling that?
That's one of the keys for the business analysts and for us to understand what the markets are going to do, because one reason we try to maintain 6 inventory turns is because that means that you're never getting too far extended to your inventory position, because there's 2 things that can really cause you issues in our business, and that's either bad debt, you have a customer that doesn't pay, or you have bad inventory. And it's if you're sitting on inventory and the market is devalued 20%, for example, that can be millions and millions of dollars. So it's very important to follow your inventory, manage your inventory, match it up to what your customers' forecasts and consumption is, and that's something that we focus on a lot.
Now, for a retail store, right? If they have some inventory that's slow moving, they just cut the price, and then eventually someone's going to buy it. How do you dispose of inventory that you make a decision that, yeah, this isn't moving, we need to unload it? How do you unload it?
So there's a couple different methods. One, it can be as simple as the same thing. Okay, look, let's just cut this price and move it into the market. We're going to break even or even take a little bit of a loss to move it, but it makes the most sense to move it and turn it into cash, depending on what's happening in the market, where it's going. The other is to buy your way out of it. And what I mean by that is that if you've got high cost material and the market's really taking a hit, then you can buy new product, cost average it in, and utilize some of your new product with your old product, and ultimately bring your costs down. And the third way to do it is by trading. And we establish a trade value, and we can do this with end user customers, or we can do it with other suppliers. And it's to trade out of items into items that you need. So, for example, if we have product A that has X cost in it, and we need product B, and someone else needs product A, we establish a trade value, and essentially we can get out of that product, and sometimes with spending no money because you're trading for something. So there's a couple unique ways to go about it, with third being the most unique. So,
yeah, that is very unique. Now, is is what you described here, those three things, something you do on a monthly basis because you're always, you're on top of your inventory, you don't want to be stuck with anything, or is that once in a while occurrence when you have to turn to these three
Yeah,
avenues?
it's a once in a while occurrence. We try to utilize the trade method frequently, but the other methods are really about, we're buying, typically we buy inventory for what our customers need. Now, we also buy speculative inventory to sell on a spot market basis to the general market, but the majority of what we're buying is for customer specific requirements. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how we try to manage our inventory as best as possible, is to understand what our customers' consumption is going to look like and then tailor our inventory purchase accordingly.
Right. Now you grew your company, extremely fast, right? 60 million to 300 million in 4 years. Your revenue per employee is among the highest in the nation, right? At 10 million per employee. What's to keep me from setting up shop myself and do what you're doing?
Well, it's a very specialized business that there's a lot of things to know in our business. So it'd be very hard for someone that didn't have the expertise to come in and do it from scratch. One of the main things that you have to understand is the markets and the products, which a lot of people think, okay, well, yeah, all steel pipes, steel pipe, you put it down whole and it's that easy. But it gets into metallurgical composition of the steel, the connections that make the connect the pipe together, gas tight sealing, high torque ratings, etc. So there's a lot of technical expertise as well as the network. You have to know the end user community. You have to have the customer bases to sell to, and then you got to be able to bring a fresh perspective, because you're going to be competing with huge companies. I mean, we started out from scratch competing with billion-dollar companies in our business. So it's hard to do unless you are able to bring some things to the market that are unique. So there's a few different things that you would have to do to scratch the surface of being able to just open up shop and start doing it. Yeah.
Right. Sounds like the capital side is also a challenge.
Yeah, capital side, you have to have money behind you, or you can start small and grow from there. But the capital side, it's a very capital intensive business to where you have to have a lot of money to be able to participate in this game. Now, you can be a pipe broker, and that's not very capital intensive. It's where you're buying from A and selling it to B, back to back type business and things like that. But that's not, you're not going to be mainstream if you're doing that. You can be a pipe broker that's doesn't require as much capital and things like that. But if you're really going to be a stocking distributor and participate in business with the largest companies out there, the XTOs, Exxon Mobils, EOGs, et cetera, you're going to have strong financial backing and be able to carry the product that they need.
Right. Because these guys, they can afford to not get their pipes delivered on time.
No, they can. They absolutely cannot afford that. And the other side is, if you wanted to gamble and do it and put $100 million worth of inventory in place, and you didn't understand the market dynamics, then all of a sudden your market decreases 10 or 15%. Well, you just lost $20 million or devalued your inventory by $20 million anyway. That it's a risky game.
Yep. But you'll be happy to help them out and do a trade with them.
Yeah, there you go.
So, okay. What are your thoughts on 2019? What are your plans? What are your targets?
For 2019, yeah, we're in terms of a revenue basis, we're shooting for about $400 million this year. We've got some big things in the pipeline, so to speak, that could push that higher than that. But that's kind of our basis right now, is going to 400 million. We're going to be expanding our business in some alternative markets, be it structural, be it municipalities, and et cetera. So we're going to continue to evolve the company, diversify, and grow our market share of the market segments that we're currently participating in. We're working on some new technical components that we're going to be bringing to the market that are going to be something that the market hasn't seen before, which we believe it'll help push our business as well.
And by technical, you're referring to more or different analysis services?
Yeah. What I'm referring to here is things that are going to complement what we're currently doing in terms of the business that we're running on both the upstream and midstream. A lot of upstream focus right now in terms of the material that we're supplying. How do we track that downhole? How do we let the end user know exactly what material is where in their well? And that helps them from a risk profile. And if there is any issues in the well, they know exactly what material is at what location, what depth in that well. And digital bills of lading, things like that, they're really going to be real time in terms of, for example, if you're delivering material to a well and you get a signed bill of lading, hand signed by the company man at the rig, and then he gives it to the truck driver, and the truck driver a couple days later, hopefully that he scans it or takes a picture and sends it in, and then you get that to your customer a week later. And I mean, it slows down the whole process, and customers are really looking for efficiency right now. And so these are things we're going to be doing to really digitize their experience with us.
Right. Okay. What problems or challenges do you foresee that you have in 2019 that you need to eliminate to get to your goal of 400 million?
Well, so in 2017, so coming out of 16 and going into 17, the market was pulling out of a downturn, and the rig count was increasing faster than what new supply entering the market could catch up to that rig count that was increasing. Because of that, the market price increased well over 20% that year. In 2018, what happened was the announcement of Section 232, which essentially is the implementation of quotas and tariffs on steel imports into the USA that the Trump administration implemented, and that made the market increase about 20% in 18. This year, it's a more normalized year. We don't see anything on the horizon right now that's going to majorly push up the market or push down the market. We think it's going to be a relatively flat year. So with that means there's going to be a lot of competition. We think there's going to be some, as there currently is right now, there's been some downwards pressure, some light downwards pressure on pricing in first quarter. And that means that people are competing fiercely over the business that is available. That means you got to be very aggressive price-wise, be working with your suppliers to make sure that you're buying competitively. And so I think that the real challenges are going to be the margin compression that's going to take place with people really fighting over business in a market that is not experiencing huge price increases. So that's going to be a challenge. And then also we're monitoring the political situation very closely to determine if something does change with the current trade, the tariffs and the quotas in place, how is that going to affect the market, and how fast is it going to do it, and what moves do we need to make when that happens? So there's a couple of challenges right now that we're making sure that we're ahead of as much as possible that could affect the market this year.
What about finding new customers? Or do you pretty much know everyone who's out there who's buying pipe and you're already working with them?
No, there's always business development that's occurring. And that's what over the years, if you look at where our customer list was of a handful of customers to, hundreds of customers now, it's always business development. There is so many customers out there in the market that you always have to be targeting new customers and bringing on new business, because you're always going to have some business fall off for whatever reason. Either good contacts that customers leave, and the new people that come in you're not aligned with as well as somebody else. So they're bought. There's consolidation in the market, and if they're bought by somebody who has a contract or agreement in with somebody else, then all of a sudden your business is gone away. And so you always have to be adding new business, because you're always going to have some kind of fallout of your current business. And so that's what we're doing. We absolutely do not currently have relationships with everybody in the industry. Now, we know a lot of them. We know most companies in the industry, but we can always improve on the relationship we have with them and bringing on new clients.
Okay. What are the challenges on that front?
Well, the challenges on developing new customers are just the competition that is currently at play. There's a lot of, this is a very competitive, cutthroat type of business that people are going hard after these customers, and you have to figure out how to differentiate yourself, what competitive advantages, how you can add value to their supply chain, add real value. And those are the type of things that we're doing. So, it's really just about trying to outperform your competition and set yourself apart from what everybody else is doing. And that's
Right.
the challenge. That's the challenge constantly to overcome.
Is it pretty easy to engage the people out there who you don't have relationships with so far?
Not really. It's a challenge because most people currently have a supplier. They have somebody supplying them what they need, and that means that it's harder for somebody just to walk in and say, "Hey, let me tell you about our company. Let us show you how we can do things different." Because a lot of people, especially when they're busy, and these days everybody's busy, is saying, "Well, look, I got some in place right now. I don't have time to really even think about changing it, and that'd be a lot of effort if I did, and blah blah blah." So you really have to be able. The best thing to do is if you can get in front of people, it's much more effective. And what I've noticed is that when we can get in front and present to people, that does us a lot in pushing the ball forward and bringing them on as a client or getting an opportunity with them at the least. And so, these days it's all about email and everything else, but people get hundreds of emails a day, and you're just sending one more email that's going to go into their inbox they don't have time to mess with. So figure out creative ways to get in front of them and secure that in-person meeting is really the goal.
Right, exactly. How have you guys gone about getting those in-person meetings?
Well, one of the major things that we have done is we have brought a lot of information, market information, to our customer base and to potential clients. So we do about a 50-page deck per month, and we send it out every single month to both customers as well as prospective clients. And it covers global oil and gas, and as well as so global energy, and then OCTG and line pipe specific, and really goes through and details market trends, market dynamics. We do summaries of each section, of all three sections, with bullet points so people don't have to look at these graphs and charts and try to draw their own conclusions. We're drawing conclusions and doing the market analysis for them. So this is something that as they're trying to understand where are costs going, how is it going to affect my business, what are the things I need to be doing and the purchasing strategies that I need to have in place this year, we do that for them and we present that to them, and they can utilize that to have a better understanding as well as present up to their management. And I think it's very helpful. So that's something that we typically provide on the front side of asking for an in-person meeting, and explain to them that we can give them a presentation on the market and the most effective purchasing strategies for this year. And so that's something that's unique that they don't typically see. There's a lot of people that'll reach out and say, "Hey, I'm so-and-so from ABC Pipe Company. Want to come talk to you. Well, I want to have lunch with you." Well, people are busy and they don't have time just to have a meeting with somebody these days. So if you're not going to be able to add value somewhere, then people probably don't have time. But if you're one of the few that actually does have something that adds value to what they're doing, to their job, to their business, then there's a very good chance that you're going to be able to secure that meeting.
Right. Now, the people you're sending it to, the 50-page deck, are you sending it to the C-suite folks? Are you sending it to the...
Yeah, absolutely. It goes all the way from a lower level, brand new person in the business to CEOs. I mean, there's such a wide range of who our audience is on it, and that's just over the years. It's just through. There's just a different levels that need to know, and there's people on lower levels that need to know what's happening in the market, and there's people in C-level that need to know what's happening in the market. So it's a very wide range. It's not focused at just one level of person or clientele. It's focused on providing as much and as beneficial as information as possible to our wide variety of customers.
Right. Now, I took a look at some of your online marketing. I didn't see you running any pay-per-click campaigns, not a huge SEO presence. Is that just something that's not on your radar screen right now to develop?
Well, we have run the SEO campaigns before, and we did it for a couple of years, and we just got to the point that, the SEO campaigns are not cheap, and we spent a decent amount of money doing the SEO campaigns, and it did work to help promote us online and things like that. But we're in a very established business. So once we did the SEO campaign for a while and we got our name out there through different industry functions and online and et cetera, we decided that we had did enough to get us to where we wanted to be. And it's a little bit different than, say, a technology business, or you're trying to sell a product or something like that. You would need just a super aggressive online campaign. So the majority of our business is done through relationships, and people are not typically, the end user is not typically Googling OCTG Houston to figure out where to buy pipe. They have those relationships, those contacts. They know who, for the most part, the people in our industry and the companies, they know who sells the product. And that's the importance about getting in front of people, those initial meetings, familiarizing them with your company. And that was a challenge as we were new to, we were a little fish competing with these real billion-dollar companies, these real big people out there. And we had to be very aggressive and creative and unique in how we were doing business in order to start taking market share from them. So that's something that we were really focused on. And so that's kind of a little bit about how we did it.
Right. Going back a little bit to your 2019 plans, we talked about your opportunities. We talked about the problems that you need to eliminate. What about the strengths that you have that need to be maximized? Can you share some color on what you think your strengths are that you'd like to leverage further in 2019?
Sure, yeah. So the strengths, I think, one of the main things about Eagle is that we have created that one-stop shop to where you can come to us and get all the products that you're going to need for your tubular needs, whether it's the production casing, which is called Oil Country Tubular Goods, or your line pipe, or your poly pipe, or your valves, your fittings. That stuff is all something that we have been able to establish a company that can do all of that. And so we're going to continue to build that out and expand the products that we are offering to where we just continue to draw the customers in, because they can get all their products in one place, which is unique to our industry and how things are typically done. So
right.
That's something that we're definitely going to be focused on. And we're going to be also focused on some of the unique things that we're doing on for example, controlling the raw materials. We're going to continue to do that. And these are really things when customers look back at over the course of a year and they say, okay, what was my savings and how did my pipe program perform? We can show them the most amount of savings through an active supply program, which is how we run things. We don't typically come in general in our industry, it's that people will come in and they'll adjust a price per quarter. So they'll establish a quarterly basis pricing with a customer, and then they'll just change it every single quarter. So what we do is we do actively managed programs to where we utilize our business analysts and our market analysts, and we're looking at what the market is doing and how do we most advantageously do our pricing models and our program models for our customers. We might have a firm price for 3 months. We might extend that to 9 months. We might do a year. We might draw it back to 6 months, 3 months. So we're constantly changing based off what the market's doing. And that's another thing that's unique is really that actively managed program that's focused on what is best for our customer and how do we bring them a pricing structure that is going to continuously be changing in their favor to keep them as far below market as possible on their cost.
Right. Awesome. 3 last questions for you. If you had a billboard along a fast-moving freeway for Eagle Pipe, what would that billboard say? Keep in mind that people only have 6 seconds before they drive by a billboard, so it has to be a short, to-the-point message. So what would be your billboard message?
That's a good question. If I had a billboard, well, I think that you have to communicate quickly in a situation like that. But I think you'd have to touch on the top things. I mean, bringing a highly analytical approach to your pipe supply business, or something of that nature that gets the point across that, look, we're gonna bring a very highly analytical approach to what you're doing, and that's going to really change the way that you're able to conduct your business. And that's really been the focus of Eagle. And so communicating something along those lines on a billboard, I think would be what we would be after. Now, the exact wording I'd have to think about, but it'd be somewhere along those lines.
Right. Yeah, there's probably something clever you can think of. The pipe doctor or something like that.
There you go.
And the two last questions. Who are your ideal clients, and what's the best way for them to contact your team?
Yeah, our ideal clients are E&P, so exploration and production companies in the upstream that are drilling oil and gas wells, and midstream companies who are building out pipelines. And then anybody that needs water transmission tubulars. So we do all those segments, and the best way to contact our team is either directly at our home corporate office in Houston, Texas. It's 713-464-7473. And that's 713-464-PIPE is what 7473 spells. So easy way to remember it. And then we also have our online, we're at www.eaglepipe.net.
Brandon, it's been awesome having you on my show today. I really enjoyed hearing how you grew your company so fast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking with you as well.
We've been speaking with Brandon Dewan, the president and CEO of Eagle Pipe, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.